Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to ZAA Global Virtual Summit 2020 film session. I know this is an exciting one for a lot of people. We've got a very interesting lineup here. We've got the famous Jesesi Mungoshi, we've got Joe Njagu, and Napoleon Nyani, DJ Napster, is the one who's going to be moderating this. So I'm just waiting to get him back. There we go. We've got Napoleon here. Big shout out to World Remit. Thank you for making this possible. Kudu Business Support, High Mount Construction, and Fine and Country. Thank you so much for sponsoring this summit. We would not have done this without you guys. Follow through on Facebook, on Zimba Live, and Zim Achievers page. Also on YouTube, hashtag ZAA Summit. Follow the conversation on Twitter as well. I'm just trying to get Napoleon in. Good afternoon, Napoleon.
Hi, Tatenda. How are you?
I am fine. It's a little bit warm, but we won't melt. Won't melt.
No, it is warm.
Okay, good. All right, are you ready? I can see people on here, and yeah, people excited for this one. People excited for this one. Yes.
I'm absolutely ready.
Awesome.
I apologize. I seem to be having connectivity challenges. Of all the days to have connectivity issues, but hopefully we can smoothly go through this one.
Sabotage. All right. Okay. All right. I'm gonna let you lead this one. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, great. I would like to welcome you all to this session for the ZAA Global Virtual Summit 2020. And this is the session on film. We're talking about what we can do as Zimbabweans to make our film products viable outside the country or internationally, so to say. How can we monetize our products, and how can we get our products onto different platforms and get different audiences outside of just us consuming our own stuff? This has got a lot to do with storytelling. How are we telling our stories? How are we packaging them and making them appealing for an international consumer or a foreign consumer so that we can penetrate the world? We cannot make enough money just in Zimbabwe. That's why we're constantly trying to get onto all these platforms outside the country, like Trace, like Netflix, etc. We're really just trying to widen the market, because the 15 million people that will consume it in Zimbabwe cannot make it viable for our actors, for our producers, writers, etc. So to help us get into this discussion, we've got a number of panelists that are going to be joining us. These are people with big names, and they are very recognizable in Zimbabwe. And I will introduce them in no particular order. Let me start with Comic Pastor. Comic Pastor is a comedian. His full name is Prosper Ngomashi, and is known professionally as Comic Pastor in Zimbabwe. He's an MC, and he shot to fame with a comedy, and it was titled Shamu, which went viral in Zimbabwe on WhatsApp and Facebook in 2015, after which he became a household name, and he's involved in events, organizing and directing ceremonies. And Comic Pastor is now he now owns a media company that has music recording studio and video and photo shooting. So this is one of the success stories of someone who started off Nuguta Maskit and now is pushing their content. So Comic Pastor, welcome to the Global Summit. Let's see if we can get Comic Pastor in very quickly before I introduce our next guest on the platform. Monalisa Chisango is quite an accomplished young lady. She's an award-winning TV producer who has managed to make a mark in many fields, including arts and culture, radio, as well as TV and film, and is currently adding music to her lineup of expertise. She's worked in big productions like SA's Got Talent, So You Think You Can Dance, The Voice Nigeria, The Voice South Africa, Our Perfect Wedding Zimbabwe, and is currently producing an international reality show that will premiere in January 2021. and she's the founder of Monzi Ice. I hope I got that one right. Monzi Ice Creations, which is a female-owned company that is providing services in broadcasting space. So she's passionate about women empowerment. So we're looking forward to hearing from her on what the role of women can be in pushing the aspect of Zimbabwean stories and our film to the world. Mona Lisa, let's see if we can get her in.
Hey, Napoleon.
Hi, Mona Lisa. Welcome to the Global Summit.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you to ZAA for such a platform.
Okay, great. Now, I'll introduce my my other panelists a bit later. I want to just quickly get into this one with you, Mona Lisa, before I bring in the other panelists as well. So, in terms of Zimbabwean story, I mean, the theme of this discussion today is how do we sell our product to the rest of the world in terms of film and our storytelling? Where do you think we're missing it, and what can be done? And I know you're also quite passionate about women empowerment, so I would also like to hear the role of women in this.
Okay, cool. So naturally, as women, we're great storytellers. I mean, the way I tell a story or an incident from the way you would tell it would be different. I would give so much detail. It's aesthetic, and we're good at telling those kind of stories. But I would say we've got an opportunity as Africans and as Zimbabweans to tell our narratives. We're at a point in time where the focus is on Africa, and there's an opportunity for us to be exporting our culture, our values to the rest of the world. Over the years, we have taken learnings from America, learnings from the UK. And this is the time where we're saying, African child, this is your time to rise. We are not a dark continent. We've got amazing stories to tell. So, I mean, this is the time. We've had Black Panther already touching on the African narrative. But imagine if it was a Wakanda coming straight from Zimbabwe, how that would have reached the rest of the globe.
Mm-hmm.
Then in terms of how we can package, I think our focus has always been on short films and feature films. And having been exposed to different types of industries throughout the years in terms of myself, I feel that there is space for us in terms of television that we are not exploring, which we also need to look at. And that way we'll be able to expand our industry.
So you would say we don't have enough television productions? We're focusing too much on short films?
Yes.
Okay. And so you having gone into all these spaces, Nigeria, South Africa, and worked in the TV production space, none of the voice and these productions that you've worked on, what would it take for us to be able to properly produce that kind of content locally for the global market?
Great. So for us, I think what's lacking in terms of we do have storytellers, but we just need to spend more time in terms of our script writing, in terms of developing our stories so that they can stand on any global platform. We look at the success of the cook-off. I'll use that as an example of how wonderfully that was done and the global success that's attributed to it. So what it's just saying to us is that definitely we can do it. And what I also love about the cook-off, which one thing we are not doing a lot, is collaborations. So as much as we all want to own production companies, what is it that I can do that I'm well known that, okay, Mona Lisa is good as this? What services can I offer a George Jango? What services can I offer at Tsitsidangarembwa? And we collaborate and work together to be able to produce a great production.
Hello, Mona Lisa, are you there? Is it my connection or your connection? Hi, Mona Lisa, can you hear me? Hello, Mona Lisa, are you there? Trying to figure out who's gone offline. Is it me or Mona Lisa?
Okay, yeah, we can hear you, Napoleon. So I think Mona Lisa just cut off.
Okay, so it's not me who's offline. It's Mona Lisa who got cut off.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody
Okay.
else is live. It looks like you can. Yeah.
Okay, so
might
should I
as well,
introduce
yeah.
Joe?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, let's keep it moving. Mona Lisa, thank you very much for those insights. And it's important for us to be able to hear from Zimbabweans who are actually working and doing what needs to be done, and especially those that are involved in different industries, because we're trying to push our products outside of Zimbabwe. So it's important to have that exposure and that experience outside the country. So the next person that I'm going to introduce onto the panel today is another name that a lot of people know and know very well, especially if you're in the creative space or in the media space. His name is John Jagu. John Jagu is a filmmaker, Zimbabwean. He directed his debut film in 2010. It was called Lobola. I remember watching that, Munyachi Dzonga and the crew. It was quite an interesting film, that one, and it paved way for a new chapter in independent filmmaking in Zimbabwe. His next film after that was The Gentleman, and then won Best Foreign Language Director at the American International Film Festival and Best Film at the NAMA Awards in 2012. And he has directed several other feature films, including Something Nice from London, Escape, Tete B, The Letter. Joe has produced and the multi-award-winning film Cook Off, which is the first Zimbabwean film to be acquired by Netflix. So we celebrated that earlier this year. We're like, hey, finally we've got a film on Netflix, and would like to hear a bit from Joe Njagu. Joe, let's bring you into the conversation.
Hey, Napoleon.
Hey, Mgoma Joe, Rudy.
I'm good, man. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for coming into the conversation. We're talking about film, and we're trying to figure out how best we can package our products, our film products, for the international market. How do we monetize that, and how do we sell them, and create a viable film industry in Zimbabwe? But let me start there. Do you feel that the film industry in Zimbabwe is viable?
First, thanks for having me. Really an honor to be here. And for me, Napoleon, like, first things first, like, there's no industry, there's no film industry in Zimbabwe. You know,
Wow. Okay.
I like to call it a film community that's trying to develop to become an industry, right? We're at a stage where I would say we're only now getting to transition to become an industry. For me, like, one of the big stepping stones was getting Cook Off into the international space on Netflix, right? And that's like a door opener, and it's only the beginning for us as a film community to say to the rest of the world, here we are. And now, like, for me, getting into that international space is only the beginning. It's like the first step to say, okay, let's start now to introduce Zimbabwean content to the world. So we're living in a global village now where people are exposed to everything. To, like, anyone can have access to DSTV, to Netflix, to Showmax, right? So the audience around the world already know what a good quality film is, right? Film is a global language, right? Where everyone in the world understands it the same. It doesn't matter what language. I can watch a Spanish film, even if I don't understand the language. I can see what's happening. I can get the story, even with or without subtitles. So I feel us as Zimbabwean creatives, Zimbabwean filmmakers, right? We need to come to a point where we get to understand what is happening in the world and start to sort of like move with the trends. Because when we mentioned the word, like, I like how it said how to package unique local content. The word unique there is very important. where our story has never been told. I'll speak for Zimbabwe, right? We have so many stories that have never been told. So the power that we have, that we're sitting on, it's almost like an uncut diamond, where the rest of the world, they want to know our story, right? But they want to know it told well, not just like we have to respect the craft. That's why I refuse to say we have an industry. I say we have a community, because it's still in its development. Like, because when we say to a global audience, this means it has to be of global quality, of international quality, and that's like high production value, certain standards that I feel locally it's not there yet, but it's getting there. So I think there's still a little bit of a long way to go until we can say, okay, now we can afford to start selling our local content to a global audience. We still have a lot of work to do to match up like international quality standards. So people have to respect that and to put in work. You can't just think being based here in Zimbabwe, I can improve and be the best filmmaker in the world. You're lying to yourself. Like we need to get exposed to what's happening out there. Like it's efforts, individual efforts that creatives need to make. Like I, for myself, I made those and still make those efforts to go out, to learn, to study. Because film, like I said, film is global. Like so you can't lie to someone and say, oh, watch my film, it's a quality film, and then they're watching an overexposed picture or bad sound. They just be like, no, this is crap. So we still need to put in more work to develop ourselves so that we can have that proper production value quality film to sell to the world. And we're only getting there. I would say now are we getting there?
Okay, I like the passion in your delivery. You sound like someone who's really in pain about this particular film space. But you say there's a film community, there's no film industry. At what point do we then say, yeah, pane industry? Imagine now we have a film industry. What are the things that need to be in place for us to call it an industry?
I think for one, like the moment we mention the word industry, right? There has to be some form of commerce, right? Exchange, money, trade, and all that. Even looking at it from a Zimbabwean perspective, we don't even have a film policy on a government level, right? So we can't call ourselves an industry. We're not even governed. We're not even, you know what I mean? So we can't call ourselves an industry yet until all those things are in place.
Okay, no film policy. What else?
So there's no film policy, like there's no film guilds, there's no film unions, for example, like in like any industry, like they have trade unions that guide them, that say, okay, I'm hiring Napoleon to be an actor in my film, and there's a set rate to say, okay, Napoleon is going to be earning between 5,000 and 10,000, and I can't pay him anything below that. You know what I mean? Like people are taken advantage of. Like it's like open season, like it's like the wild west, literally. And it needs some form of order, and that comes with governance and governing, and there's none of that.
Okay, so does that come from the government? Is this a ministry of youth, sports, arts, and culture type of conversation? Does it need to happen there, or is it the filmmakers themselves that need to organize and make this happen? Where should it come from?
It's a combination. It's a combination of both. Because us as filmmakers need to also put our house in order, and then represent ourselves on that level. And I'm aware that efforts have been made, even from a government level, and we still await for a film policy to be put in place. There are efforts being put, like being made, but not really giving fruits yet.
Okay. All right. Now, thank you very much, Joe. We'll hopefully you keep following the conversation. We might bring you back in, but some very pertinent issues brought up by John Jago there, issues of there not being a film industry at all in Zimbabwe. What we have is something we can call a film community, simply because there is no film policy, there is no commerce in this particular industry. Filmmakers are not necessarily making money from their productions. There is no film unions even, and that kind of support for the people that are working in this space. And until we have some of these things in place, we cannot even call ourselves a film industry. That's quite food for thought. That's quite worrisome in this age, in 2020, in the 21st century. And we're talking about a lack of a film industry completely. But thank you for that. Let me bring in another person who was involved in the cook-off, was also involved in the Battle of the Chefs. Cook-off yakaenda Netflix here, Thomas Brickhill, and he's an experienced filmmaker and a broadcast with broadcast credits in directing, camera, lighting, sound, and editing. And he managed. Many people who remember him from the Book Cafe. He used to manage the Book Cafe. That was Zimbabwe's premier arts venue, and the sister venue was called Manenberg, and which was a jazz club. As a musician, he fronted the groundbreaking beat punk band Chikwata 263 with blends of traditional Zimbabwean rhythms with the energy of punk rock. Let's bring in Thomas Brickhill. Thomas Lutuli Brickhill. I think I see him. Hi, Thomas.
Yes. Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. Welcome to the conversation at this ZAA Global Virtual Summit.
Thank you, Nobali. No, very happy to be here and happy to be invited. Thank you.
Great. Now, Thomas, you've worked on different crews for different film productions in Zimbabwe. I will mention the most recent one, the one that we all celebrated, the cook-off, and the fact that it was picked up by Netflix and all of that. What did it take? Because one of the issues that we want to discuss now is monetization of this unique Zimbabwean content. What did it take for the cook-off to be picked up by Netflix?
Gosh, okay, it's quite a big question that you're asking, because it's not like there's one quick, clever, nice answer that I could give that could say like, oh, cool, if you do this one thing, then no problem, you're going to get through to Netflix. Because with all the, I mean, they're just one platform, right? And I think for a starting point, although that was the big news in terms of Cook-Off, that's not the only platform that we're on. You know, Cook-Off is on Netflix, it's on iTunes, it's on Amazon, it's on Google Play. Like we targeted, all multiple international platforms as a way to kind of try and get the film out to the world as much as possible. And also, organized a screening locally on ZBC, a couple of screenings as well, because we're trying to look at how, if you want to monetize your product, you have to look at multiple income streams. Now, in terms of like what we did, okay, I think from the outset, when me and Joe embarked on this project and, really like shook hands and said, let's make a feature film, we were both very clear that whilst, obviously we've been involved and made feature films before, but we wanted to up the game. We understood that the level that we'd made feature films in the past was not, you know what I mean? I think that's what Joe was talking about in terms of like really understanding that when you want to say like, no, now we've made a quality film, like we knew some of those things that you have to have in terms of the picture quality, the sound quality on a basic technical level, but then also the creative, input into it. And to give you some idea of that, whilst it took maybe, I would say, okay, a couple of months to do the filming in total for Cook-Off, we actually took close on to 2 years to finally get to the finished product that people got to see at the end of the day. And for a lot of that time, we were going through the edit. making changes, polishing the product, doing a professional sound mix and a professional picture grade, which these were things that we actually then ended up having to go outside of Zim to find companies that had experience, that could do a sound mix to an international level. So there are also parts of the film community which are not complete. And I want to add something onto what Joe was saying about the film community that we have. Like, yes, we should look at it in terms of, as he said, like, is there commerce? Are filmmakers actually making money from their product? But it's not just the filmmaker who makes the film. Like, the industry part implies that there are multiple sections, right? Like different companies, say, for instance, a catering company that specializes in catering for film sets and television sets, right? Like subsidiary industries, be they in the production part, be they in post-production, all those things should be included and be part of something which then collectively becomes a film industry. And I agree 100% with Joe. We're a way off from getting to that point yet. But that's not to say we can never reach there. We just have to be realistic and not say we have an industry when we don't yet. But I think, yes, in terms of the amount of work that you need to put into a project, in terms of the hours, it's the same. I think something that Mona Lisa alluded to in terms of like we need like quality script writing, right? So I think it's not like you write a script and then it's finished. Like by the time we shot Cook Off, that was the 7th draft of the film. So the script had been rewritten 7 times in order to get to the final product. By the time people saw Cook Off, it had been re-edited and as I say, the sound remixed and the color grade redone, over a period of almost 2 years in order to get to that quality level that, yes, okay, cool. Now we're getting the interest, let's say, of Netflix. Because that's the thing, is it's not like, you say like, oh, I'm sending my film to Netflix, and like they don't talk to individual filmmakers. You have to find a distributor who's looking at a whole load of films and is willing to say like, right, yours looks good, and I'm willing to present this to Netflix through my connections. So it's also like understanding that you once you want to go into that international competition of different, films on those major platforms, you have to be realistic that you are now competing with those films that in many cases are made in countries which do have a film industry, or at least have much bigger budgets, more resources to put into their productions. So yeah, I don't know. I hope that kind of answers your question.
No, it does. You mentioned something that got me thinking. You mentioned the issue of collaboration with experienced companies and some even outside of the country. This was collaboration around, sound mixing, around production and post-production. So that means budget. That means money. How did you fund this film, and how can Zimbabweans get around the issue of budget? How do we fund our films?
Look, okay, so ultimately, and what I think I'm very invested in is the way we build a film industry is we need to look viable enough for the businessmen and women, obviously, who exist in Zimbabwe, who are investing into things right now. If they're investing into agriculture or they're investing into mining, they need to look at the film industry and say, oh, this looks interesting. I'm prepared to invest some money into that. Like that's the kind of first prize for us, right? Is if we can have like, local business people who are prepared to invest in this industry, in building this industry and building better products. As soon as we don't have that, which we don't, currently at the moment, it's very hard to, and we obviously did try with Cook-Off to get investment in the initial stages. We fell very short of what we knew roughly how much, kind of budget we needed to make the film. Not exactly, because obviously these things change throughout the production and post-production. There are costs that we hadn't even considered that later became obvious to us that these were very important. But we kind of raised the money that we could, and then tried to figure out how to make the film that we wanted to make, that we needed to make, with the money that we had, which is a very that's the thing. So I'm kind of resisting from saying like this is a blueprint of how to do it, because it's a very what's the word? You have to make a lot of compromises to make a film in this way. So for instance, we were very lucky that the the cast and the crew who came on board with Cook-Off understood that the money that we had, we wanted to spend entirely on the production itself. So not on anyone's performance fees or crew rates for working on the film. And everyone agreed that, okay, cool, let's try and do this in, they believed in the project and believed me and Joe when we promised that we were going to work hard to sell the film afterwards to make that money in order to pay them. But that's not the way around that you would normally do things. And there were some people who we initially had approached who did not work on Cook-Off and were not part of the production, because they just said, well, look, this is, this is not how we work. And either you pay us, or if you don't have the money, then you're not serious. So, you know what I mean? That's not how films get made. So I very much am like hesitant to say that this is like a way that we can look like. Cook-Off shows that we do have the talent and we do have the expertise to shoot quality productions in the country. And I think that it was like for me and Joe, that was like Cook-Off was a proof of concept. But it's just a stepping stone to where we're trying to get to in terms of the journey towards building a film industry, right? So, ultimately we need to be in a position where you are saying like, okay, cool, this is the concept for the next film, and we have a script, and we have so-and-so actor attached, and an investor, hopefully locally in Zim, but we would like to be able to look outside the country as well. That comes back to something Joe was talking about in terms of government policies. There are ways in which the government can make it easier for filmmakers to collaborate across borders, but in order for that to happen, we need there to be those kind of co-production treaties with other countries, and that's something that can only happen at that official level. It's not something that we can do individually as filmmakers. Once that framework exists, we can operate within that framework, and we can try to, source money to make films from outside. But like, that's the way that you want to make films, is you want to say like, right, cool, this is the idea that we've got a script, we've got a cast, people are on board, and an investor says, wow, cool, this looks good. You've got everything arranged, so cool, here's the cash. Now you can go and make a quality film without having to like apologize to everyone that we don't have money and things are tight, and you know what I mean? Obviously, we're very proud of the film that we made at the end of the day, but it was not like, an easy experience making it.
Hi, Thomas, still there?
Yeah, sorry, I'm still here. Sorry, I kind of finished. I didn't know if you wanted me to say more.
Oh, yes. Sorry. specific. Uh-oh. Struggling with my network here. Got me wondering, am I live? Am I live? Am I live? Am I talking to myself? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Checking, 1, 2.
Hi, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Thomas, did you hear the question?
No, sorry, I didn't.
No, you didn't. Okay. I was saying we're getting some of our viewers asking questions, and then Misha Nyamangara asked a question that is related to what Joe spoke about earlier and what you touched on. She's asking, what can we do to ensure the film community is complete? What is it that we can improve on? And I was just qualifying to say, Joe answered this question in part when he was talking about the structures that need to be in place for us to say we've got a film industry. But maybe you can answer on a technical perspective. What are the things that we're lacking in our film production in Zimbabwe that we should improve on for us to be able to have a more solid community or industry?
Gosh, again, it's these are tough questions because they're really big questions. I guess that's the thing I'm trying to say. I think like actually the thing which has happened, super recently in the last week, announcing, finally that there are going to be additional TV stations in Zimbabwe. This is such a monumental step because the problem that we've had with having one single outlet for television and it being the national broadcaster and there not being any private television production companies is that there's been no competition. And I think it's something that we can like look back and see that the way that radio changed in Zimbabwe from the times when we just had Power FM and Spot FM and the difference that it made just bringing like Star FM and ZFM into the picture in terms of like suddenly the entire dynamics of like, to be honest, for me, prior to that, like driving along in the car, I would make sure to have a tape or a CD or an MP3 player, something to listen to. But suddenly with new players and the competition made radio more dynamic again, right? And the fact that it became dynamic again made the listeners start listening to the radio again. The fact that more people were listening to the radio meant that advertisers were now keen to get a share of that market because now they could talk to their customers, right? So what we really hope is that now we are setting the stage for the same kind of thing to happen on television, for there to be competition and interesting new productions which are more exciting, more daring, more innovative than what we've seen on our single national channel, up to now. That creating now an ecosystem whereby advertisers are interested in advertising on those new stations, and therefore there are budgets. There is possible to commission filmmakers to make programs, to make films, to make one-off documentaries, to make series documentaries, all these things, reality TV, current affairs shows, like all those little bits and pieces, I think, are, part and parcel of what then creates more something of an industry. Because there's kind of like, we talk about film and there's like feature film is one part of it. But it's it's a big undertaking to make a feature film. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of resources, put into one single project. And a lot of filmmakers, or a lot of the film industry that we're trying to build, let's take, for instance, something like a makeup artist, right? A makeup artist who worked on Cook-Off for, 1 month. What are they doing for the other 11 months of the year? You cannot sustain yourself for an entire year and say, this is my profession, this is what I do on one production, right? So we need a lot of those other smaller productions, of TV shows, of whatever, to be happening. That's how we start to build the industry, is, having that. So I think this has been a great step forward. I'm very sorry that it's taken so long. I'm not sure really what the delay has been on us getting to this point, because I remember vividly being called to a meeting in 2014 to be told, as filmmakers, like, right, you guys need to be thinking about producing more content because we're going to have these new stations coming on air. And, now we're talking 6 years later and it's just been announced that it's going to happen. But it's not like they're on air tomorrow, We're still going to wait for actual, channels to be broadcasting. But at least, for me, that's how I see, like, some of that opening up of new platforms, so that as a filmmaker, I then also, it's not like there's a monopoly, right? If I make the best new TV show, and let's see, I'm gonna pitch it now. I'm gonna come up with something out of nowhere. So yeah, I'm gonna make like a TV show that's like it's following a team, right? It's set in a school, and it's following like a little rugby team from like a small school where they don't even have like facilities to have like proper pitches and stuff, and there's this little rugby team, and there's a whole series following this rugby team, and it becomes like the most exciting, the most popular news show, whichever channel it starts on, right? Once I get to like the end of season 1 and I've shown that I can make an exciting, dynamic show, and there's a lot of interest in my show, suddenly I have power, because I have there's competition. If the channel doesn't want to pay a reasonable price or a fair price for the production, I can look at the competition and look if there's a better offer from someone else, to give me more scope to invest more money into the production, and again up the ante. We have to, it's small steps, but we have to be able to climb in that way. And competition does such an important role. It has such an important role to play in facilitating that. It's not automatic. It is also the competition between between different filmmakers. We should be having a healthy competition with each other to try and like up the ante and make better and better products. I think that's also part of it in terms of how it happens. I don't know, I seem to be by myself on air now, so I'm just going to answer this other question, which is really nice. How can we as Diaspora...
I'm still here. We can hear
you're
you.
Still there, sorry. Good. Sorry, I was worried you'd gone.
Yeah. You thought you were monologuing all by yourself.
Yeah.
No, great insights there, and we really appreciate it.
No, yeah. Cool. A pleasure. Thank you.
let's move the conversation on a little bit, and I'd like to bring yeah, thank you so much, Thomas. We really appreciate the insights there. Quite eye-opening. Now, if I may bring back Joe and Jack. Virtual Summit 2020, and we're talking about how to package unique local content for a global audience and monetizing channels and promotion. And we're talking to a number of panelists today. You just heard from Thomas Brickhill. And now I'd like to talk to Joe Njabu. Now, Joe, this is a question that I wanted to ask Comic Pastor, but he may join us a little bit later. On the side of the monetization of our content, in terms of the stuff that we're producing now and the stuff that we have potential to produce. Right now, I know even when I look online, mostly it's skits and short films and 1 or 2 feature films in 3 or 4 maybe in a year. Now, how do we best monetize this content after it has been produced, right? There is the costs of producing it, yes, but after it has been produced, it needs to make money so it can pay for the costs, and it can also produce a profit so that, you've got an investment for the next film and money to eat with your family. So how do we monetize the content that we're producing? Okay, I can't hear Joe. Is it just me? Is it our network? Let me see. Come in, Joe. Joe Njabu. I think it's your network, Mr. Joe.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Please go ahead. Did you get the question? Okay, maybe it's my network. Joe, did you get the question? Joe, would you like me to repeat the question? Are you there? Nai Joe Njabu. Oh man, the network is a problem today. Attender says network is on.
So I think
you can still hear me.
you're okay. Yes.
So it's Joe's problem. It's Joe's network connection problem.
Moment, yeah.
Okay, maybe while Joe is trying to reconnect, let me throw that to Mona Lisa. I know Mona Lisa is back in the room. Joe, your camera is moving. Are you there? Can you hear me? Mona Lisa, welcome back into the room, into the discussion. I just asked Joe, and I would like to throw the question to you around the issue of monetization. It's well and good for us to tell our story, to produce great films, great TV shows and such, but how do we make money from them? How do we monetize these products? What are the best ways and what are the channels?
Okay. Thanks, Napoleon. So for me, I view film as an industry. It's actually a business. So I like to call myself a filmpreneur because I'm an entrepreneur in the film industry. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at the bottom line to say I've made a film, I've made a TV show. I still need to be able to make profits at the end of the day and be able to sustain my business and be able to have another production. What that means is that I need the support of every Zimbabwean, everyone that's watching that movie, that TV show. I need the support of a corporate investor. I like the question that's being asked here. How can we as the diaspora support Zimbabwe creative industry? When we come knocking to your door, hear us out. Because at the end of the day, we are giving you a platform where we can also market your products. We're giving you an opportunity as a country to market locations. Back in the days, we had loads of films that were being shot in Zimbabwe, and that was, the film industry injecting money into the industry. We had revenue coming out from films that were being shot internationally, but that were being filmed in Zimbabwe by international companies. And that was money that was being brought in by the film community and industry, as one would put it. So we need people just to have faith in us and we will definitely deliver.
Okay, so still on my question of monetization, would you say that that support that you said, we need support from all the Zimbabweans, is that where the money comes from the public? And how does it get into your pocket? Is it coming? Are they having to come and give you the money just because you did a film? What are the channels? How does the money get into your pocket?
Okay.
How do we ensure that when you've made a film, you don't go broke? But how do I do it? Do I see you in town and say, hey, here's a dollar bill? Like, how does it work?
It'll be nice for you to, that'll be also great. But obviously, so obviously, for example, when I launch a film and I have a film premiere at, one of the cinemas, let's have a full house. That's the kind of support I'm talking about. Buy tickets, come and watch the movie. Let's not only have that film being shown on the premiere, the day of the premiere, but have it throughout the year or months, because I need money from that box office to ensure that I can be able to make another production. So what now is happening is that I look for money. I'm able to do this one production. I still need to take this film to the rest of the globe. How do I do that? I need money. So Netflix is one platform that we as African filmmakers are so excited about, because it's giving us an opportunity to tell our stories. We have film festivals. For me to attend a film festival or to send a film, it's also money that's involved. So we need all the help that we can possibly get, Napoleon.
Okay, that's interesting. I think it's definitely a pertinent question for all the content producers and filmmakers, and even for these new television stations. Thomas, you alluded to them earlier on. The fact that we've now got all these new television stations that have been licensed. I think we've got 6 new ones, and then I think ZBC is also going to be increasing their bouquet of television stations to 7, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a lot of variety, and hopefully it introduces the competition that we've been lacking in this industry. Still back to you, Mona Lisa. From a TV perspective, because yes, there's films, there's all of that, but when it comes to TV production, what does this mean? The fact that we've now got these new television stations, I think in terms of operation, that may only start operating maybe mid-2021 or even late 2021. But for the industry, what does this mean?
I think it's a very exciting time. We've been waiting for a time like this. It's an opportunity for someone like myself, an opportunity for someone like Joe, like Tom, to be able to tell, different Zimbabwean narratives, be it reality television, be it through documentaries. It's just opening space for us as creatives to have more content out there. So we're quite excited. For me, I'm quite excited about that. But it also gives someone like me who's sitting in the diaspora an opportunity to give back. When I say give back, it's being able to transfer skills in terms of what I've learned. So we need to get, first of all, the basics right. Making television one-on-one, what is it that we need to get right? Our stories have to be able to compete on global platforms. The productions that are going out have to also to be able to perform on a global platform. So as much as we've got the 6 or 7 stations that are coming out, it's very key for them to spend time in research and developing those television programs that are going to be going out. So if you're going to excel at anything, let's spend time in planning. Let's spend time in engaging with our audiences. What is it that they want to watch? Why are they paying money to watch, a Mzansi production and not a local production?
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Yes. Oh, okay. Thought I'd gone offline there. My network is absolutely terrible today. Okay, so thank you very much. Is Joe Njagu back? Is Joe back in the room? Let me see if we can connect to Joe. Joe Njagu. Let me see.
Napoleon, I have to get back on set.
Oh, is it? No, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us for this conversation. And it really helps. You know, we keep talking about the Zimbabwean diaspora. The Zimbabwean diaspora has been created out of necessity. A lot of Zimbabweans have gone out of the country to seek greener pastures. I'm sure you included. But it has also created a pool of knowledge, experience, and exposure for the country. And we desperately need to benefit from the diaspora. We've always benefited by Kutumiro Malebo and clothes and all sorts of things from outside the country. But I think it's time for us to get brain gain from the diaspora. We got a lot of brain drain, but it's time to now gain from the diaspora because of your exposure and all the experience that you're getting there. And the industry in Zimbabwe has not gotten to that level. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you so much, and I am ready to serve my country. Thanks.
Ooh, wow, well done. Take care. I think I'll remain with Thomas in the room, and I think there's just one more issue that I'd like us to explore there, Tom, around film production in Zimbabwe. We've had a long history in terms of productions, from pre-independence to the 80s, and in terms of the films that I have experienced as a young Zimbabwean, the 80s and 90s were like a golden age. You know, there are a lot of productions that came out of the country and a lot of things that we're proud of. We're hoping to get Jesesi Mungoshi to be part of the panel and the discussion today. And she featured and she acted in the 80s, acted in the 90s, and is still acting today. I know she was one of your star actresses in the cook-off, which we've been talking about to start it. So with that movement from the 80s, 90s into the 2000s, and now we're in the 2020s, if I may call it that, how have you seen the progress in our film space or film community, film industry in Zimbabwe? Would you say we are progressing, we are regressing, or we are stagnant?
Gosh, I'd say we've taken steps forward, but there've also been steps back at the same time within that period, and I'll explain a little bit why. Something actually which I know because I've heard Jesesi mention it in numerous interviews, and one of the reasons that really drew her to our project to be part of Cook-Off was the fact that this script and the story of the film was not an issue-based drama, right? And so one of the things that happened in that period that you're talking about, that I also look back and think like, wow, this was a golden era of filmmaking, simply because there were so many productions being made comparatively to now. I think, you know, actually we should have blossomed more than that had we been going in the right, you know, trajectory. But one of the issues that was accidentally created during that period is that the films that were made were based around a central issue because there was some donor funding to pay for a film which talked about that issue. So we, you know, as much as Neria is a fantastic film, the reason that it was made is that there was an issue around inheritance law, and there was a kind of landmark ruling that happened in Zimbabwe, you know, undoing some very sexist legal laws which had been there before, and which, you know, the fact that changed meant that there were people who wanted to publicize that knowledge to the wider Zimbabwean community, and hence they were willing to invest money into a film that would communicate that to an audience, right? And then we look at the other films that were made around the time. So Everyone's Child, that was a film about street kids. We had, what else? Yellow Card, that was a film about teenage pregnancy. So in each instance, the reason why the film was being made was because there was some important issue that people wanted to talk about. And then the accident where I say we kind of took a step back is that filmmakers came to see it as the way that you become a filmmaker, the way that you tell a story, and the kind of stories that we tell are, should first be around, okay, what will donors be interested in giving us money for? And whilst I'm sure actually it's still a viable, way to make a film, it's not a commercial way to make a film. And it's very unlikely that a film that's made with that as the starting principle is going to ultimately become a commercial success. If you look at the films from that we would probably want to emulate, be they from Hollywood, Nollywood, Europe, South Africa, any other countries that are producing more films than us and better films than us, there's a lot more commercial films that are being produced. Not every film starts on a basis of, oh, what's the problem? Okay, cool, there's gender-based violence, it's a terrible problem, so let's write a script about that because someone might give us money to make that film. And so don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that filmmakers shouldn't deal with issues. That's actually, yes, like musicians, like any artists, part and parcel of what we do is to investigate social issues, to be part of the social commentary on what's happening and how our culture is developing and evolving, how our society moves forward. Of course, that's part of what we do. But at the basic point, alluding to something Mona Lisa alluded to, as a filmmaker, you have to be also looking at the bottom line and saying, how is this project going to make money? And I think we have that. This is where, now going back to your original question, where we kind of went off track slightly, because so many since I made Cook Off, obviously I've been approached by a lot of youngsters who say like, oh cool, look, I really want to get into films, please can you help me, I've got the script that I've written, would you take a look at it and give me some feedback, some advice? And in the majority of cases, I can tell even within the first few pages that this is a story which is based around some kind of central issue, because they think maybe that there's money to talk about that issue, right? And this leads me on to the second problem, which is connected, which is if your goal is that you're going to get paid to work on the film, you're going to get paid as the director or as the writer for just creating the project, then it comes back to exactly your question before of like, hang on, so how do we monetize it? How does it get to the people and how do they pay you? Because if the entire model before was based around a donor paying for the film, then when I finished working on the film, I've been paid, right? No one's going to make money from the film later. Probably they're even going to distribute free DVDs or free movies because they just want that message to get out there, right? So it's not a commercially minded business transaction at all. And actually, it's something that we have been really struggling with. I think, in a way, in the DVD era, it was much easier for people to say like, oh, how can you support us? Well, please don't buy a pirate DVD, buy the real DVD, directly from us, and then you know that money is coming to us to invest and make more films in the future. Now we're in a position where and not for anyone's fault, because technology has changed, the world is changing. That's not how people are accessing their films anymore. And so it is an issue that we need to solve, and I don't know the answer to it yet. As filmmakers, of how do we distribute our films? How do we get them to the public in a way where there's a transaction and they can pay us, for that film. I think in terms of, yes, it's great to have these international platforms and whatever, but we need like a melting pot locally, right, on the ground in Zim, where this happens to start off with, and you have lots of productions being made, and then the best of those maybe are the ones that can move to an international market. And I think, to be honest, there were a couple of bad moves that were made. And, I would like to single out or whatever and just mention, this whole thing that happened with Kwese TV, and it was a great idea. And again, we thought this was going to be a platform for local content in the country. But actually, when it came down to it, the business mind was not looking at the local content. It was looking at another way to try and sell international content to a local audience. And when you look at the fact that it didn't take off and it didn't, turn into some amazing, huge new venture, for me, it's so obvious. That's the reason why. When you say like, okay, people are, why are they turning to Mzansi films or Nollywood films or whatever? Because those are the films you can find. If I ask you today, how are you going to buy I know how you're going to buy Cook-Off, right? Because I can tell you, these are all the platforms where it's available. But it's work to distribute a film. It's work to get the films onto those platforms. I can tell you, if you want to look for Neria, for Yellow Card, like you really struggle to find a place you can buy that movie. So,
no,
what I mean?
I really like what you're saying, and I think it brings out another issue as we wrap up. It brings out another issue that, Zimbabwean filmmakers, there is also work to be done in terms of winning the local audience as well, because it seems our locals and the people, in this country are more keen on watching foreign content, whether it's content from South Africa, content from Nigeria, content from the Western world, and we don't consider our local content to be really much to write home about. So I think there's work there for the Zimbabwean filmmakers to be able to rise to the occasion and to woo the local film consumer or TV watcher. But at the same time, there's also the work of exporting our story and getting our film or TV productions out there and to be taken up by the international community. But we're out of time. We really have to wrap up this conversation. But thank you very much. I'd like to thank our panelists for joining us today. We were discussing the issue of the film industry and TV industry as well, in that conversation, and what can be done to ensure that, how do we package the unique local content for a global audience and monetizing the channels, monetizing for a global audience, monetizing channels and promotion. Those are the different issues that we're touching on there. We had in the discussion Mona Lisa Chisango with Thomas Brickhill, and we also had Joan Jagu. We were supposed to have had Jasesi Mungoshi. Unfortunately, she couldn't connect. And we were also supposed to have Comic Pastor. He also didn't manage to connect. But to Thomas and Joe, who are still in the room, thank you very much for joining us today, gentlemen.
Thanks, Nigel. Napoleon.
All right. And to you for watching, thank you very much. We really appreciate Zim Achievers for putting this together and making it possible for us able to have these discussions at a global stage. And I'd also like to thank the sponsors that made this possible. I'll hand over now to Tatenda, who will wrap up the session.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, okay, yes. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Napoleon, for leading this discussion. It was very informative. So many interesting points came out during the conversation. Joe and Thomas, thank you so much for coming through. Unfortunately, some of the panelists had trouble. The network was just horrible today, so apologies to the viewers. It's just up and down, really. But big thank you to you guys for coming through and taking time out to talk to everyone. Hopefully people have learned quite a bit. I see a lot of engagement in the comments, so maybe for all the questions that you didn't get a chance to address, maybe you could go into the comment section afterwards and try to address them. I see a couple of them, but obviously because of time, we need to log off. Big shout out to World Remit for making this possible. Thank you to Kudu Business Support, High Mount London, and Fine and Country. Thank you so much for joining in, and follow the conversation on ZAA Facebook, Zimbo Live, YouTube, hashtag ZAA Summit on Twitter. We are moving forward with the summit. We have the next session at 3 o'clock, so do not go anywhere. Okay, you can go away now, take a break, have some lunch, have a drink of something. I know it's Friday. Yes, but do come back at 3 o'clock. We've got a session on real estate. That should be interesting. We've got investors from Canada, Australia, and a local investor who will be sharing their knowledge with us. So please join us at 3 o'clock for that. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. So we'll catch you at 3 p.m.